The National Park Service reports that over 4 million people visit Yellowstone annually. SweetwaterNow.com reported in 2014 that in 2013 there were 2.9 million state park visitors. OurPublicLands.org reports that nearly 50% of Wyoming is made up of public lands, and that includes things like national parks, state parks, and wildlife refuges. Wyoming wants to transfer federal public lands into state ownership. The Wyoming legislature defines the Transfer of Public Lands Act as an act relating to public lands, requiring the transfer of public lands, and specifying the distribution of proceeds from the sales of those public lands. If this bill were to be passed in Wyoming, Wyoming's public lands would increase from 3 million to 25 million acres. However, the Star Tribune reported that Eli Bobo essentially killed this bill on January 20th, 2017. Although, in an interview with the Star Tribune, Eli Bobo was quoted saying that he intends on working with the Trump administration to further discuss this bill. If this bill were introduced into Wyoming, it could be very detrimental. Today, we'll discuss the causes, effects, and solutions to this bill. First, there are many things that could cause a state to want to transfer federal lands into state ownership. Utah and Idaho are both great examples of states that transferred lands, both for different reasons. In an article by Stuart Leavenworth on McClatchydC.com on January 12, 2017, he stated that many rural communities in Idaho blame the decline of timber harvests on federal ownership of the lands. Also, there are many ranchers and farmers that are tired of dealing with the Bureau of Land Management, having been quoted saying, it's like dealing with the Soviets. On the other hand, in an article by Jessica Goad and Tom Kenworthy from thinkprocess.org, they discuss why Utah transferred their lands. In their federal land transfer, they simply wanted to reclaim their lands, and with that, reap the benefits that came along with it, such as mineral rights and increased public land ownership. States are individual sovereignties who want to exercise their rights to reclaim their land and the benefits that come along with it. Some states are just tired of dealing with the federal government and feel like their state government would do a much better job. Next, the benefits from a land transfer sound like they could be beneficial, but it could be disastrous for Wyoming. Wyoming's budget is not big enough to properly manage all of the lands that would come with the land transfer and the lands that are currently managed by the state already. Things like privatization and loss of recreation could occur. In an interview with the Star Tribune on December 7th, 2016, Matt Mead was quoted saying that this land transfer is both financially and legally impractical. Kirk Siegler wrote an article on NPR on January 5th, 2017, detailing what would happen in the privatization, recreation loss of Wyoming and how that would affect sportsmen mostly, meaning all of your favorite hunting and fishing spots could be no longer. This bill could be a disaster financially and recreationally. There are very many upsetting repercussions that could come along with this bill, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any solutions. First, this problem is already temporarily solved because Eli Bobo killed this bill earlier this year in January. Based on my research, I have concluded there are only a couple of groups in Wyoming that are actually knowledgeable about this bill. Those groups being the people who enjoy public lands for recreation and leisure, such as sportsmen, people who profit off the land, such as farmers, ranchers, and energy companies, and politicians. We need to further educate the citizens of Wyoming and inform them of the bad sides of this bill, of what could possibly happen, and have a bigger voice for the next time that this bill is presented in the Senate, and so we can vote against it and have more people informed and know why they should vote against it. In conclusion, this bill could be very detrimental to Wyoming. Today we cover the causes and effects and solutions to this bill. The causes being as simple as land disputes or reclamation of land. The effects of this bill could be the land not being properly managed, thus resulting in the sale of public lands and privatization and possible loss of recreation on those public lands. The solutions are it's already temporarily solved, but in the future, when this bill reaches Senate again, which it will, we need to inform more Wyoming citizens of this bill and the negative effects that it could have on the state and the citizens within Wyoming. I believe this bill should not be passed in Wyoming.